Go to sleep and I'm, an HR person and a networker. And the next day I wake up and I'm a best-selling author. It's like, who knew? So it's like this kind of fairy tale. So first of all, I want to thank you for having me here. I also want to thank you for your cards and your wishes and the flowers during the summer for my medical issue. It's great because I woke up from surgery and here's this great big, flowers. And I'm like, who are those from? And somebody opened the card and it said millionaire. So I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. So thank you for that. It really brightened my day. So I want to tell you a little bit about the book, Building the Ultimate Networker, and it's Building the Ultimate Network. It's not only myself, but it's other experts that were in their field, hand-chosen by Van Meisner, to write a book about their best networking practices. And when I say that, we do B&I in the room every week. But there's a lot of what you do on top of B&I that really makes our networking successful. And that's really what the, can you hear me in the back, Greg? Okay, good, thanks. That's really what the book was intended to be about, is the secret stuff. Not that we don't tell you, but it's just not designed for the B&I format. So each of the authors was approached and asked to contribute something that was above and beyond what was considered normal B&I stuff that worked for their success. My chapter was my start to networking. Over 10 years ago, it's what I call Commanding the Room, chapter 22. And it's all about how you go in a room, and let me kind of set the stage. Many of you go to mixers, right? You go to mixers and there's what I call pods of people, and you're like, how do I do this? How do I work these people? And I don't mean work the people, but get around, get networked. I make an association, make my time valuable. And that was my first experience in networking, because I went from being a corporate HR staff person to now having an HR consulting business, and everyone recommended, oh, you got to go to join the chamber, which I did. My first chamber event was a mixer where I walked in. I have these freshly printed business cards, and I'm handing them out, and I'm telling everybody about HR, and they're looking at me like I have two heads. I'm thinking, surely these people get it because, they need me. They don't have a trained HR professional, but they might get sued and they have all these things going on, so why did they not see my value? And the last thing came in my thing when I'm about ready to walk out the room. A guy walks up to me and we have this conversation and he says, I don't need any of that personnel stuff. Walks away and I'm like, that's it, I'm done. And I go to walk out and a big guy walks up to me. He's a big guy, he's like 6'4". He towers over me and he says, you're new, aren't you? And I'm like, how'd you know? And he goes, come on. He goes, we're going to meet some other new folks. And he took me and kind of showed me the way to network in his world. Now, I learned a lot that night, and I subsequently learned a lot from other people. But what made it magical is when I tied that concept, which I call commanding the room, together with B&I, because it gave me a different formula on which to build my business or to be introduced to people. The one thing I learned, and people that, and I don't want to say you guys, I want to take B&I people aside. Before I became the B&I director, if people said, who am I? They say she's a great networker. That's what I've been known in my community, is to network and to connect people. And the one thing I learned that I want to share with you, and this is one thing you want to write down, is I didn't invent this. I wish I had been so smart. But of all the things I've learned with the networking, I take the things that work, and when they don't work for me, I give new ones and pass them along. But the one thing that my B&I people taught me is in any environment, especially in commanding the room, I want to leave the person with a memorable experience of me and a significant, I would say conversation, but those are my words. Here's what they trained me to ask. How do I know if someone I meet could benefit from your service? Some form of that. How do I know if someone I meet could benefit from your service? Now, we know how that works in B&I. Take that, everyone's okay with that sentence or that question? Okay, put that aside for a second. Now I want to tell you the value of commanding the room, or how I see commanding the room. And one of the techniques, there's several in the book that I outlined, but this is just one of them. I want you to take all that aside and put yourself into, you're going into an annual banquet. Maybe it's a chamber function or builders. There's 250 people in the room, right? We've been there. tons of people, and you're like, you have 45 minutes to network, and you have to make it through this crowd of 250 people. And you're like, oh, how do I do this? And this is where, using your teammates, like your B&I person, can work to your advantage. Because what I outlined was called one size fits one size. And it's the concept that you work with your buddies, you work with your networking partner to get around the room. So that may look like something, if I may, David, can I pick a man? Thank you. He didn't know this. We didn't practice this the other day. So I come to, chances are when you go to a network like that, is there not somebody you know in the room? Whether it's him as B&I or it's somebody else. So I go up to David and say, hey, David, you want to play with me tonight and make this room make fun?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. It will be safe, I promise. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I know a lot of people in this room that would probably benefit from knowing you. But I want to, I want to introduce them to you. Who would be a great person for you to meet tonight? That would make a difference, either industry?
Accountants.
Accountants, okay, great. Gosh, there's 3 of them. Anything specific about accounting you're looking for?
Small and medium-sized businesses.
Okay, got it. So I find that out, right? And you're visually in front of a room, you have them. And I want to say, now, once I find them, how do you want me to introduce you?
Doc.
Oh, what's that? Doc?
The greatest man in town.
Yes, the
that one.
the best credit card guy in town.
Okay.
Someone who can help them, can really benefit their customers.
Oh, got it. Okay, so I've got my assignment, and I share my thank you, you can sit down. And I share my information with them on what I'm looking for. And now I go out and I find the accountant, right? Is this not easy to do? And I'm bringing back, and if I say, if I may, John Bringer, let's say John Bringer is the accountant, only because I'm looking at him, and or he's who David's looking for. And I say, hey, John, how you doing? It's been a while.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing better. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Hey, I have someone for you to meet. Do you have a minute?
Absolutely.
Good. And that's all it takes. Now, I've got probably 30 seconds to a minute to get over to David to connect them together. Thank you. So that's the technique you want to use when you're commanding the room. Now, commanding the room is more than just working at it. It's really the person who you look at from afar, and there's just something from them, about them, that you say, I really need to know that person. Now, sometimes it's, in who they are, it's in how they interact, it's in how they get together. I don't know what that is, but you all know it when you see it. So what I want you to do is think about in terms of when you go to a function, like a mixer or a big event, how you make that make sense for your business. Now, when you look at what I just described as far as commanding the room, the key I want you to think about is this. It's easy for me to say this and say, okay, go out, get 3 accountants or get 3 real estate person or whoever he's looking for. The downside and the risk is that in my travels, I'm going to run into someone I really want to talk to. And am I going to ditch him or not? No. Because here's where your visibility, credibility, and profitability comes in. I promised him I'd bring him back somebody. That's what I want to deliver. And so I want to make sure you just have that intentionality. It doesn't take a lot. And once I introduce them, I move on and I do something else. But I want you to look at, if I did that for you, how valuable of a networking partner am I? Both in B&I and outside of B&I. So that's really what I want you to look at. So tie it back to B&I. You can see that really with it, and that's what I did for years until I found B&I. And B&I just put it all together and gave me a system to do what I did well, which was stepping in a room and commanding the room, along with how do you get referrals and how do you get businesses from it. I want to just come back for a minute to the book, if I may. It disappeared. Oh, there it is. You guys can hold it up. Building the Ultimate Networker. Like I said, it's with a variety of authors. If you're interested in getting a copy, they're at the back of the room. I'll do a book signing at the end, or you can also get them on my website at hrknowledgebase.com. And here's a quote I want to leave you with as an invitation for who I want you to be. I want you all to be an idealist, as defined by Henry Ford. The founder of Ford Motor Company is to build your ultimate network. An idealist is a person who helps other people become prosperous. Thank you, and good luck in building your ultimate network.